It's Arkansas and it's North Carolina State. Friday, 5 o'clock, game one of the Super Regional. The Hogs trying to make it to Omaha for the third straight College World Series. And the Wolfpack are trying to get there for the second time under longtime head coach Elliott Avent. And we're talking about the Wolfpack baseball team with Andrew Sanders, who has been on the baseball call since 2014. He also does women's basketball broadcast, works on their ESPN Plus, basically does just about everything involving Wolfpack sports. And we appreciate your time. Andrew, how you doing today?
Hey, guys, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
You got it. So I would say that the experiences that Arkansas and North Carolina State had in the regionals last week were really opposite, with the exception that they both won the regional. Arkansas struggled. You know, they lost a game. They trailed quite a bit, but that's also one thing that has happened a lot for a number one team, to give up the first run in a game, 29 out of 60 games, and trail as often as they have. It seemed NC State just cruised. What did I count? They led in like 22 of 28 of 27 innings. So it feels like, did they just play their best baseball of the season, Andrew, or has this team got a little more left in them?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think they're peaking at the right time. Certainly played just well-rounded ball. You know, they pitched well, they hit well, they fielded it well all year. So, yeah, honestly, I was a bit surprised. I know Alabama's a good SEC team, and Louisiana Tech obviously deserving to host. So I was a bit surprised at how well they were able to do there. I mean, you used the word cruised, and honestly, there was not much stress overall in that weekend except for an early 4-0 lead for Louisiana Tech on Sunday. But, NC State was able to score 14 and pounded out 19 hits in that game and won it going away.
Yeah, I mean, they outscored opponents 31 to 11? Is it 30 to 11? That's what I'm counting here. 30 to 11 over the three games. So right, I'm sure that they were not too nervous, down 4-0 after the top of the third in that championship game against La Tech, because this team can just flat out swing it. And I'm looking at the numbers for this team. I haven't seen a single game that NC State has played yet, but I'm looking at a team that has patience, has power, makes contact, runs the bases. This looks like a scary-looking offensive team.
Yeah, I think that's why they've had so much success this year, is because it's a multi-dimensional offense. They're going to hit for average. They can hit for power as well. They've got, 5 guys with double-digit home runs on the year. I know that's not really impressive to Arkansas. You guys have 6, but they can hit for power and average, and they're going to be very aggressive on the base pass. Good team speed throughout. So this is a team that can play small ball, or they can manufacture runs, or they can have a big inning where there's a 3-run home run. They can do it either way.
Tell me about Elliott Avent. He's been the head coach there. 25 years? Took them to the first College World Series since the 60s in, was that 2003?
2013.
2013, sorry. And so this is a program that is up amongst the upper echelon in the ACC, and Avent is responsible for that. What's he like as a head coach?
Oh, just a legendary coach and an awesome human being, and he has been so consistent. It's really been remarkable throughout the years. But looking to make that second trip, as you mentioned, to Omaha. He's coached some great players. That 2013 team had Carlos Rodon, who's with the White Sox, who threw a no-hitter this year. And it also had Trey Turner, who won a World Series as starting shortstop with the Washington Nationals. So, this is another talented team. It might not have the star power up top like that 2013 team did, but really, 1 through 9, they can really hit and they defend well. And he's a player's coach, and he loves the university, I think, more than anybody, and he loves his players, and his players love him too. And that's a cool part of this matchup, I think, is that with Coach Avent and Coach Van Horn, just 2 absolute legends in the college game going head-to-head in this one.
Andrew Sanders of North Carolina State Baseball Radio joining us here on Halftime. Andrew, looking at these stats, I mean, all year with this Razorback baseball team, we've been just watching the home run ball after home run ball with over 100 home runs now. NC State will pack a punch, too, with the home runs, 83 home runs on the year. You got a lot of power in this NC State lineup. Johnny Butler batting just over or close to 400 this year, 389. Tyler McDonough, 351. A lot of power in this NC State lineup from the plate.
Yeah, absolutely. And Butler, it's funny. It's hard to keep your average up that high. He ended the regular season as the ACC batting champion. He had 406 in the regular season.
Wow.
McDonough is the guy that you mentioned. He's going to be really fun to watch this weekend. Keep your eye on him in center field. I mean, he covers so much ground. And then offensively, what's not to love? He's a switch hitting guy that he scored from second base on a ground ball a couple of times this year. He did that in the regional in Ruston. He's just going to be super aggressive on the base path. And I tell you, another guy to look out for would be Devontae Brown in right field. So the entire outfield. Brown had a huge regional with 3 home runs. And Coach Avent has moved him around a bit this year. He's been in the middle of the order. More recently, he's been batting 7th. And when the Wolfpack is getting that kind of power production from down at the bottom of the lineup, they're really tough to beat.
And when you look on the mound, I mean, obviously Reed Johnston, leads the way for you guys. A 3.9 ERA, 8-2 on the year. And I was kind of looking over here. You guys kind of go through about 5 or 6 pitchers and kind of use that as your rotation. Fair to say Reed Johnston is your ace, and then you just kind of fill in the spots there with the other 5.
Yep. Reed Johnston is the ace. He came on as a freshman and has been kind of their number one guy, even though he has been in the bullpen at times in the past. He's pretty much been the ace since his freshman year. And yeah, when you're looking at NC State's pitching, there's really only about 5 guys you got to plan for because they've thrown 80% of the innings this year. This is a bullpen that's been really depleted in the first month of the year. It just seemed like arm after arm kept going down with injury, and so. This is a team that I thought would be very strong pitching, and they have been. It just hasn't worked out the way that I would have expected. I thought they would have had a lot more depth. Instead, they're just very reliant on getting quality starts from all 3 weekend guys, and then out of the bullpen, you'll see Evan Justice and Chris Villeman. Villeman had been the midweek starter, and now in postseason play, he's coming in as a shutdown guy out of the bullpen, but. Justice was the Friday night starter earlier in the year, and since they moved him to the bullpen, that is once they've gotten this pitching rotation and all the roles figured out, that is no coincidence that that's when the team turned things around. I mean, this is a team that was 4-9 overall and 1-8 in the ACC, and since then they've been playing some of the best ball of anybody in the country, and I think figuring out those roles and really having Evan Justice in the back end, he's got 10 saves, and he has been pretty much lights out, and you guys know all about that, obviously, with Cobbs, who should be the runaway national player of the year. But Justice is kind of in that same mold. You're not going to see him for 6 or 7 innings, but you could see him throw multiple innings on multiple days this weekend.
And me and Phil were having some conversations about you this morning. You're not able to travel down to Baum-Walker Stadium for the Super Regional this weekend, which stinks because, I mean, I guess Fayetteville obviously known for the environment that they can create with the players and the abundance of fans. And I'm kind of curious from your standpoint, how do you think the players will react just to kind of like the grand atmosphere that is? I mean, obviously this is the first time Arkansas and North Carolina State will meet up. And I'm kind of curious what you think, how the players will receive just the how big it can get here at Arkansas.
Yeah, like you mentioned, I'll be watching on TV. I was able to see a good bit of the regional and saw some of the game against NJIT and a couple of the Nebraska games, and just what an incredible atmosphere that was. It looks like a ton of fun, probably the best in college baseball, just unbelievable. And it's a good question, how the team will respond to that. I can tell you that they're 17-3 on the road this year. They have been a tremendous road team this season and went down to Louisiana Tech and faced a really good crowd there, although much fewer in capacity. So I think that experience down in Ruston will help them a bit. I think the fact that this team is like every team in college baseball this year, there's a few guys that they got back that they probably wouldn't have gotten back if the draft hadn't been shortened to 5 rounds. So it's a very experienced veteran team. But no matter their experience, I don't think they've ever played in an atmosphere like that where it's a super regional. I hear it's a really hard ticket to get. And this weekend, and that'll be a new experience for them.
More like impossible to get right now. But hey, on March 21st, NC State gets swept by Louisville at home. They're 4-7.
Yep.
They've won 29 of 39 games since. What's happened?
Well, I think it's twofold. First of all, it was like I was telling you with with some COVID protocols and stuff, there were some guys being held out that they weren't able to get into their rotation in the early part of the year. Once those pitching roles were more well defined, this team took off. The other aspect of that is in the ACC, we played mostly a conference schedule, and we jumped right into conference play. So they got 3 non-conference games, and then immediately met up with Georgia Tech, who's a good baseball team, got swept, lost 2 of 3 to Miami, and then had a 2-week COVID break. And so, obviously you feel like there's going to be some rust factor there. They were still without a couple of their top hitters when you go up against Louisville, and I don't know how Louisville didn't make the tournament. I'm not saying they were deserving. They weren't. They didn't have the resume, but with all the talent that they had, I just don't understand how they didn't make it. So, anytime you take a couple weeks off, that's not good, and you're without a couple of your top players, and then you run into a very talented Louisville team. And so, yeah, they got swept, and I think without that COVID break, things would have been considerably different. And that's just it was a weird year for everybody. And I think with the way that the NCAA bids worked out, I mean, this team did not have the resume in mid-April to host, but in a normal year where they decide that at the end of the year, this is absolutely a regional host.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you jumping on with us here, Andrew, and I hope you have a good call for the Super Regional, whether it's 2 or 3 games. Hope the Razorbacks win. I'll just be honest there with you on that, and I know you feel the opposite way, so appreciate you joining us.
Well, thank you guys for having me, and hey, I think this is going to be a really great series. Let's hope for 3 games. I think it deserves that.
Let's do it.
Okay. All right. You got it. That's Andrew Sanders, the radio voice of North Carolina State baseball, and he joins us on Halftime. One very interesting aspect of that, I don't know if you really think it's interesting, but the dude who is my studio engineer for the Razorback baseball games is roommates with Andrew's studio engineer for all of his baseball games.
Go figure.
The studios are in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and so we've got a little bit of a, I don't know, could you call it network incest? I don't know if that's the right way to call it.
We're reaching a little bit.
Yeah, probably so. 877-377-6963. Hunter Yurachek destroyed Jay Billis. We'll get into that next.